So it's the 25th of the 11th, 2019, um, Tralee, County Kerry, land of saints and scholars. And as a former member of the fellowship, I have a hypothetical situation that I want to pose to members of the fellowship. Now, as a member of the fellowship since 2006, um, I'm still availing and utilising my lessons learned about defects of character and stuff like that. But due to happenings within the fellowship, the principles of the fellowship, as far as I'm concerned, were compromised and jeopardized. But for those still within the fellowship, I want to pose a hypothetical situation about relationships within the fellowship and relationships of members in the fellowship. They always say, however long after a person gets sober, to venture into a relationship. They say sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 3 years. It varies on the person. But the query that I'm concerned about is members within the fellowship or within sobriety or that are practicing sobriety that enter into relationships, serious relationships, and then ignore and forget about their obligations and responsibilities from that relationship. Also, besides that of, responsibilities and obligations within a relationship being completely disrespected, I'm also wondering what members of the fellowship would have to think about a person in a relationship that not only disrespected his or her responsibilities or duties or whatever, but also um, defamed the other person in the relationship and lied about the other person in the relationship. I'm just wondering, I'm practicing even as an active person in, you know, you know, as a former member of the fellowship, and I've still, the concepts of principles before personalities, and I've still got the knowledge of my defects of character, and I still have the respect for the mottos of the fellowship, such as live and let live, which would include, respecting other people's privacy. But what I'm querying really is the hypocrisy of people that are claiming to have been in the fellowship or that are claiming to be sober, that are guilty or responsible for very serious transgressions against a person that in fact helped immensely in the recovery of the person that they've disrespected and defamed. I'm also wondering about, like what I mentioned yesterday regarding medical negligence and bodily integrity violations. Since 2017, there's been quite a lot of constitutional wrongdoings that I've experienced that haven't been acknowledged. And as a light worker and as a member of the fellowship, or as a former member of the fellowship, the spiritual violations that I've experienced are pretty horrendous. Now, as I've mentioned in Tralee, there's been a collective vendetta of hate crime, but it hasn't just been hate crime. It's been 29 human rights violations, and one of those violations was the violation of my bodily integrity. Now, for every recoverer and survivor of sexual assault to experience the violation of bodily integrity and to have experienced the betrayal and defamation that I have experienced as as a good person, as a law-abiding person, as a respectful person, is pretty serious. The constitutional wrongdoings, as I've mentioned, have ranged from medical issues to legal issues. 29 violations basically of the human rights kind of sums it all up. But the spiritual abuse has impacted severely, as well as the medical negligence. I haven't even attended Mass as a consequence of the spiritual abuse that I've suffered. Um, it was pretty horrendous in 2017 and 2018, and the very culprits that caused this problem seem to be doing their very best to cause even more problems. On my Facebook page, I've clearly listed how my marital home, my familial home, my family, my career, my purpose, my spiritual light body, my spiritual purpose were all horrendously violated. And that's what this has caused, a vendetta, a hate crime. And I'm here now as a deserted wife, a mother and an unemployed teacher, um, living in HAPS accommodation, suffering from very, very, very serious physical ailments, isolated in a community that was proclaiming and espousing evolution, spiritual progress, love, peace, and happiness kind of concept, and yet this kind of discrimination and injustice and defamation of character and looting, basically, and pillaging what I had worked for and what I had achieved has been occurring. So the hypocrisy and the harassment and the human rights violations have far surpassed um, just the issue of financial abuse and unemployment and housing situation and health and whatnot. Um, that I don't even feel comfortable going to church these days is very worrying. So, I'm fully aware and I'm fully capable of, you know, explaining exactly how this has all happened, and that there's an attempt to even further worsen the situation and to further defame my position, is very, very, very serious. So there's been serious violations occurring, um, bodies of light, auras, spiritual abuse, um, light worker, gifts and whatnot, all completely disrespected in this town. Um, and the collective effort in doing so, um, horrendous, like absolutely horrendous, and no remorse by the culprits, and no amends. And as a former member of the fellowship that has made my amends, since 2006, I've been making amends, and my slate is clean, and my conscience is clean, and my hands are clean. But the record that people are playing about me and the defamation being claimed about me has caused very serious damage, and the obstruction of justice and the reason for obstructing justice is more than obvious. There isn't any reason why I should be experiencing constitutional wrongdoings. There isn't any reason why I should be experiencing any violation of human rights. But due to the issues of individuals that have intentionally um, damaged my livelihood, my family, my marriage, my career, etc., with the most horrendous lies and false claims, defamation basically is it's very worrying. And what's even worse is not only that, but to have experienced sexual assault and physical abuse and not to have received any supports or services or resources from authorities or politicians, um, leads me to question, um, what are they prioritizing in this day and age. Um, as a person that's worked very hard since I was only 15, 14, 15, which is over 20 years ago, and that has, achieved what I've aimed for, to be destroyed so maliciously within a 2 year space of time by the most selfish, self-centered, narcissistic, and greedy individuals trying to claim my work as theirs and making the most invasive and intrusive um, developments and claiming the most horrendous assumptions about me makes a person question what kind of a day and age we have at all. Evolution does not constitute violations like these. In fact, that only constitutes as a regression for the people that have caused this problem yet again, as they did over a decade ago. So this problem that they've caused is a little bit more serious. As I've listed on my Facebook page, it has involved my homes, my career, my purpose, my family, my wealth, my health, my legal rights, etc., etc. So that's what has happened in this situation. My queries are towards the fellowship, because the fellowship is my school of thought, my training ground. The fellowship taught me about defects of character, my defects of character, and spirituality and whatnot. So, what has presented itself is more than just human rights issues, very serious spiritual issues, and the other more serious issues are unmentionable. They're so serious, and I just wonder if those people trying to deceive society with the biggest lies of deception and the most pathetic attempt at identity theft, I wonder, have they any conscience, or have they any concept of the damage that they've done? So I hope they're watching, I hope they hear this, I hope they understand how I feel,